Okay, welcome everybody. So we're delighted this week to have Sam, Frood Powell, Cherie, Caroline and Sarah from Cardiff from the ACE project, which is Action for Caerau Ely, based in the Dusty Forge, which as you might guess is an ex-pub. It's an amazing community centre and I've done work there through Nick Andrews at the I never know the title. Research and Social Care, Wales Centre for Research and Social Care. So we've worked together at the Dusty Forge and I've seen the amazing projects, and the project called the Pantry was just sort of getting going when we were there. Started off as a community shop and expanded from there, and it's gone from strength to strength. And so it's just talking to people who use the pantry. It's just such an amazing way of people who've got food poverty getting access to food with respect and dignity, I think, because it's a membership based approach, which Sam will explain. And there are over 160 in the UK now, and we haven't got one in Swansea. And quite a few people in Swansea have shown an interest in maybe we could get something like this in Swansea. And certainly there's a lot of people in XR who are really interested in local food and food poverty. So I'm delighted to welcome Sam and his colleagues. And I'll hand over. Sam's going to share his screen so you can.
Thank you. Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that now.
And that's it. Great.
Right, can everyone see the presentation?
Yeah.
Super, lovely. Well, we'll just say thanks Sue and everyone for inviting us to give you a talk about our pantry project. It's as Sue was saying, I mean, we think it's a really good approach to addressing food poverty in a way that is sustainable and also provides a really important kind of alternative model to food banks in terms of the dignity and choice and how people feel about accessing the project, which I'll explain, and colleagues will explain a bit more to explain what specifically you're interested in. So there's four of us here, as I said. So that there's myself. I'm a community support coordinator with ACE. So I look after projects tackling food and fuel poverty and our advice and information services that we run at the Dusty Forge. We also have Caroline, who is coordinating the pantry project, and then two of our lead volunteers who actually run the project, Cherie and Sarah. So we'll be kind of inputting today. So, but I'm sorry, I've got to remember to admit people as we go. So make sure I'm good at multitasking. So, okay, let me just move this ahead. Why is this not working? Sorry. There we go. There we go. So just oh dear, this is not working at all. Hang on a second. Sorry, a problem with the size, but there we go. Just a bit of an introduction to ACE, Action in Caerau Ely. So we're a charity that's been set up in 2011 with an asset-based community development ethos. So that's really an approach which is all about identifying what the strengths and assets in a community are and building on those rather than tackling what a community might lack. So ACE really grew out of a program called Communities First, which many of you may be aware of, as a Welsh government funded community development, and then became an anti-poverty project, which finished a couple of years ago. But through this, through the program, ACE was able to build up a set of funded projects and also take on the running of Dusty Forge Community Centre, an ex-pub, as you mentioned, and we're able to set up a number of different initiatives, really, with the community in the driving seat of those. So we're really about supporting community-led action with community members, not just benefiting projects, but being very much kind of at the heart of designing and delivering them. And so we're really about trying to kind of tap into that kind of latent community energy to address the issues that people are facing. Ely and Caerau, for those that aren't aware of the area, it's to the west of Cardiff. It's two large housing estates. They are areas of high deprivation, as measured by the Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivations. Have been identified as areas that face a lot of challenges, but I would say that absolutely doesn't tell the whole story of Ely and Caerau, having worked there for a number of years. They are extremely rich areas in terms of their community assets, and it's really ACES, and that's very much the people and the networks and the kind of willingness to kind of make a difference. That's really what we're trying to kind of support and encourage, but also make sure that the assets like the Dusty Forge and other kind of community facilities are as best used as possible. So that's really what we're trying to do. So we have about 30 staff, but many more volunteers. So at the moment, for those reasons, many of our activities are not occurring exactly as they would usually, but we are still running our food project out of the Dusty Forge, and also the other projects are done online or by telephone. So a bit about the Your Local Pantry model. First thing to say is we didn't invent it. Don't want to take credit for inventing this approach. It's actually been developed by a charity, another charity, Church Action on Poverty, in partnership with a housing association in Stockport near Manchester. It was developed, I think, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, as a model, an alternative model to food banks. And there are now branches throughout the UK, but we were the first in Wales. There is a growing movement in Cardiff. There's 3 pantries now in the city, with others opening. So it would be, we'd be really wanting to see this model spread to other cities in Wales, and obviously it would be really kind of interested if anyone is thinking of setting one up in Swansea or surrounding. Please ask them to get in touch. We'd be happy to kind of have conversations. In essence, it's a member-run food club. So members make a financial contribution, which I think is a very important difference to a food bank. They're not recipients of charity. They're entitled to the support, and they access a shop weekly where they can members can have up to 10 items of food, but it's not kind of the basic survival food that a food bank would normally provide. It's fresh fruit, vegetables, chilled items, a whole range of different things, and the food is sourced from FareShare, so it's food that is surplus. Supermarkets are wanting to get rid of it, so this project is also about reducing food waste as well. Caroline will talk a little bit more about where the food comes from in more detail. So as Sue introduced it, it's really about dignity and choice, where members are free to choose within the items that are there in the pantry in the form of a shop. And the other thing is that it is run by members in terms of the as you'll hear from our 2 volunteers later. The shop is run by members. The food is processed and all of the kind of practicalities. It's a very much a kind of volunteer-led project. We do resource it at the moment with some of Caroline's staff time, but without the members actually stepping up to make the project happen, there would be no way that we would be able to run it. Members pay £5 a week, but they only pay that money when they actually access the shop. They don't pay anything if they don't use it, so they can miss it a few weeks. It's not a problem. And in terms of who can, it's targeting lower income families in Ely and Caerau in terms of our application process, but we don't have strict criteria in the same way as Food Bank would. We don't ask lots of kind of detailed questions about why people are in food difficulty or food having, but we do want to make sure that those people that are accessing the project, we're signposting them or supporting them to access other help, grants, benefits, advice, different things. So we link this project very much into other activities and other things that might help. And at this last point, I think I just want to make, it's not just a project about making food affordable. It's also about engagement through good food. So it links to our community growing project. Before lockdown, we were running cooking activities. All of the volunteers do a community food and nutrition course, and then they can run sessions and run activities with other members. So it's very much about kind of bringing people together and to generate some kind of positive energy and excitement around food, as much as it is about providing more access to people on lower incomes. So yeah, that's hopefully a bit of an overview what the pantry actually is. The other thing I should just say before talking about our journey, one of the good things about it being a social franchise is that because it's a model with a kind of a set of resources already developed, in terms of setting up the project, it's actually easier than it would be if you were setting everything up from scratch. There's a bespoke database, online database that people can manage membership and payments and the kind of administration of the project. So that's already been set up. There's volunteer training resources. There's a whole set of things which you can kind of have off the shelf and adapt for your situation, which really kind of help. You're not trying to invent everything from scratch. So just a brief kind of very quick kind of summary of how we arrived at this project. So it took us a couple of years really of many discussions with our partners in the Food Cardiff network to get us to the to want to take on board the development of a food shop. It wasn't something which we had necessarily a huge amount of experience of. Being part of Food Cardiff network was really helpful in introducing us to the model, and also in providing kind of a bit of support and contacts and things like that. We had to raise about £15,000 of funding to get the project off the ground, which included about £5,000 setup costs and a contribution to staffing cost when the project was getting set up. There is income generated by the membership fees, which can be used for staff costs, but it does take time for that to really, for the project to be able to be kind of financially sustainable. In lockdown times, it's a bit of a challenge as well to achieve financial sustainability. But before lockdown, we were in the situation that the staffing cost was being covered by the membership fees coming in. So that is an important point about this project, as well as it doesn't need continual grant funding, but it does need funding to get off the ground. We spent a lot of time researching and planning with community members. We were lucky in the Dusty Forge, had a lot of people coming in and out, and potential members kind of on our doorsteps. We were able to kind of work with people accessing existing projects, but we also worked with a whole range of partners, including local primary schools, people accessing partner charities, just to kind of make sure that in our design of the project, we were making it as useful for people as possible. We launched with 30 members back in June 19, so we started small and then grew it, but very, very quickly the project grew. It wasn't a problem to kind of get more members. It was very very quickly we're having to kind of get a waiting list of people because more people wanted to become members than we had space, mainly because I think the value of the project to members is really high. They get about £20-25 worth of shopping for £5 in a week, so there's a real kind of a real draw for that. And obviously the quality of the food, which is variable, is still high enough to make people, to really kind of be, mean that you'll get, setting up the project, you're not struggling to fill the membership. So by February 2020, we had over 200 members, about 100 people visiting across three sessions during the week. Then obviously COVID struck, so we had to close the centre. We moved over to a delivery model, which is not really how we would like to do it, due to the kind of lack of choice the big implication of that was people had much less choice with the delivery service than they did when they were accessing the shop. But then in September last year, we were able to open the pantry again for socially distanced shopping, and we've continued that model throughout the latest lockdown. So we are now having people access in a very, which Caroline will tell you a bit more about exactly how that works, but people are accessing the shop, and I think that makes a very big benefit, because people are having more face-to-face contact, chatting with volunteers. It's a really kind of good project from a kind of reducing social isolation point of view. So having the centre open is really important. And at the moment we've got about 80. We're seeing about 80 we're supporting 80 households a week, either through the continuing delivery strand, which we're continuing due to COVID people. Due to various reasons of being unable to access the centre, but we are now seeing most people actually in the shop itself. So that was all I wanted to talk to, just kind of overview the project. But can I hand over to Caroline now, who's going to talk about the kind of, I don't know, bit more of a flavour of how it works kind of day to day, if that's okay.
Hi everyone. So for me, how it works is the core group of volunteers, you need to have a really good core group of volunteers to start with, just for picking up your deliveries from Fairshare, which happens every Monday and Tuesday. We have 2 volunteers who go and pick it up, because most weeks we have 600 kilos of food delivered. And then it goes over to the pantry ladies who are on with us tonight, who sort through the food, label it and put it away, and put, making sure the dates and everything are okay. And then it goes on then to on a Wednesday and a Thursday, when we have our when the pantry is actually open, we have more volunteers who then are serving customers. You need that core group, because it's a community-based asset. It needs to be community led, because I don't think it would work if it was people who were paid members of staff, because you would lose that personal touch. We work with local partners as well, who are at the moment we work with quite a few, especially since COVID. We've worked with local churches who have done food collections for us. They'll bring donations to us, because during the space of end of March to August, where we were doing a delivery service, we made 3,500 bags, and they were delivered to, and we delivered all of those to community members who needed food at the time. So yeah, because Fairshare can only supply us so much, because obviously during COVID and the first lockdown, they were inundated with other groups wanting to join to supply food to their areas and things. We just needed something to fill the gaps. So making sure you've got really good partners to work with you is great. Community participation is also a massive key for this. It's they are our word of mouth. They are the ones who go and promote for us. They're fantastic at doing that. We always get good feedback. Very rarely do we get anything negative. Everyone seems to think, the project really works really well. They are, the most thing I get back from people is about the stigma attached to food bank, and the fact that them being able to access something like this is just amazing, and they just love it. And we see people coming back week on week. My experiences within my role, I've been with the project since the beginning, and I absolutely love my role. The people I get to meet, we're all on first name basis, and we chat. They talk to me about personal experiences and things that might be worrying them, and then we can make sure they're accessing the right services. But it's just been one of those projects that is very close to my heart. I live and work in the community as also, so it's just just to be able to help people, it's just been fantastic. And I would have to be dragged out kicking and screaming if I had to leave. So yeah, that's my experiences anyway. I hope that was okay, but if anyone's got any questions, please do ask me at the end. Thank you.
Brilliant, Caroline, thank you. Yeah, so maybe if I can now hand over to we're going to do you guys together, Cherie and Sarah. Just had two kind of questions really, as Cherie's already had this kind of thing, but just two questions that, but obviously can talk about anything. But this is a bit of a prompt. What are the main benefits of the pantry to those involved, and that could be volunteers or as well as members, although they are the same people. What are some of, and also what are some of our challenges, and how do we overcome them? I don't know if one of you guys wants to kick off with something on those.
Sarah, do you want to say anything first?
I'll let you go first, Shireen.
Right. So what point did you want me to say first? Sorry, Sam, I missed that. Then.
No, it's fine. These are just prompts for so the first one was, what are the main benefits of the pantry to those involved? So either the people involved in running it, or the members in general, and then just yeah, go start with that one.
Yeah, sorry, Sam. So hello everyone, I'm Cherie. I've been a member of the pantry for about 2 years and then became a volunteer. So I've kind of been both sides of the pantry and how it's run, from a person that needed the help and support, as well as being a volunteer. So it benefits people in so many different ways. Obviously, everybody shared the food banks and how they work and things. Pantry is a totally different experience. It's literally like you're going in a corner shop or a superstore. You have fresh produce, you have like fruit and vegetables, which we actually give free, as part of people's shop. You'll have frozen items, you'll have fridge items. They could be anything from steak, chicken breast, meals for one, yogurt, snacks, pots, milk, smoothies, the lot. The range is endless. We also have ambient stock, which is your pasta, rice and things. So everybody's getting the same variety as what you would have in a store. And you get to have that same shopping experience. Like you can shop, you can search for things. You're not kind of limited on what you can get from the store. So it's brilliant in that sense, that you get that shopping experience, you're welcome through the door. As Sam and Caroline said, we don't kind of limit who has these kind of services and things. So it is aimed at certain people, but if somebody came asking for help or wanting to join pantry, we don't, automatically dismiss people. We have a all welcome policy, especially working families, because we feel this particular type of person and family and so on and so forth, they're kind of missed out of things. And the poverty and, different situations that working families face that kind of get overlooked. So we have a welcoming part, all is welcome basically policy. People come through the door, they shop, as Sam and Caroline have stated, they air their worries, their concerns, have a little chat, it's that all-round experience, and therefore they have that connection as well. We keep that community vibe feeling, you know, it's so warm and so welcoming, and which is what got me through the door in the first place, I'll be completely honest. It's very good for people's emotional state and well-being, where with other projects and other things that are sourced and funded, you don't kind of have that personal touch or that sense of community feel and vibe. So it's great there. As a volunteer, I'm actually a mum of 3. You might hear them in the background going to bed, so I do apologise. It's got me back into a kind of working environment, being able to commit to something else other than being a full-time mum. I'm able to, you know, kind of juggle that as well as doing school runs, being a mum, you know, studying. I've been able to do different opportunities like first aid. I've been able to do a nutritional course as well since joining Pantry. So it's opened up other opportunities for new skills, new experiences, and meeting more other people as well. So for us, the benefits are endless, to be honest, on both sides of the scales. For people who come to the shop and, you know, sort of source that support and that aid, and as well as being a volunteer, you kind of, you know, you experience something. It's something different. It's nice. It's, you know, it's unique in a sense because you have that shocking feeling. You've got that comforting, warm welcome. You've got, you know, a sense of unison. I can't speak. I do apologise. The sense of unison as well. You know, there's that kind of everybody coming together, and I think that's why it's also important, as you know, Caroline and Sam said, to have those community members, those people from the community that do connect with other people as part of the team. But yeah, it's fantastic in that sense. You know, as soon as I found out about Pantry, about 3 years ago now, I haven't looked back, and I'm so grateful, and I just wanted to kind of give back from what I've received, which is why I got involved in the first place. So yeah, I do apologise. I can talk forever when it comes to.
Thank you. So that's really thank you for that. I was interested as well about kind of some of the challenges and how we'd overcome them. I don't know if you or Sarah would want to say anything about kind of some of the difficulties that we have faced. I mean, for example, delivering the project during COVID times.
Yeah, through COVID, we, you know, had the sanitising stations out. You know, everybody had to wear face masks or shields, and we also had allocated time slots. So we still currently have a booking in system, so people phone by telephone before our pantry days, and we give them a time slot in which, you know, is suitable for them, which they can shop. And we have a one-way in, so an entrance and an exit. So they enter through one door, they exit through the other. So nobody's coming into contact with another person. As far as our work goes for Pantry on a Tuesday when we get the deliveries in, we basically have a certain amount of members that are in charge. So myself and another member will do ambient first, which is the tins, the packets, that sort of stuff. And then we have a few other volunteers that will do the fresh produce, like fruit, vegetables, the refrigeration and freezer things. And we kind of, you know, communicate and work in different separate areas just to avoid overcrowding in certain parts of, you know, the centre, basically. So it is doable, even in a COVID situation. And yeah, it's been brilliant, you know. Pantry has still been able to continue. We've overcome those challenges by doing that, you know. So yeah, it's excellent. It's, you know, even though we've had COVID, we've sort of overcome those challenges quite easily.
Super. Sarah, did you? No worries if not. But did you have anything you wanted to?
Yeah. Now I've been with the Pantry as a volunteer since the very start of the volunteering at the Pantry when we opened. Now, as a community, we all come together. We had an area which they sat and waited before COVID hit, and everybody had tea and biscuits. Now we all sat down, we talked. It was not as if we were saying, "Come and get your food, out you go now," because we never did that. Everybody sat down, we had a talk. It was like a big family group. You talk, you're enjoying a group instead of being stuck in, getting your shop and then going home. Now, because of COVID, you do get a 10-minute slot to come in. We're not pushing you out the door. We still chat with you. We still, because some people are old people who do come. and they don't see many people. So when they do come and collect their food, they have a little banter with you as well. So it's not as if we're saying, come and get your food. You get 5 items from the shelves, which are tins, a blue item, which is equivalent of under £2, I think it was, and a green item, which is a higher value item from the fridge. And we do the same for the freezer, 1 blue, 1 green. We also give away an orange, but it's not as if we're saying you have to have this food, you have to have this food. They can pick their own food from the fridge, which is a big priority chosen. They can choose from. It's all different things. So we're not forcing them to pick anything from the fridge or the freezer or the shelves. They pick themselves, and as it is, it's just a big variety of different foods for them to pick from. But during COVID, there was so much help through the food, because I would have struggled as a single mother with 3 with certain foods. Now the pantry was always there to give you food. Like Shireen said, the fruit and veg is a free item. You can help yourselves to that, which is good, because with 3 kids, with 3 children, they all enjoy fruit and veg, which, because it's a free item, is simpler, which is part of another meal, because you can make fruit salads, you've got salad. It's all different things.
Okay, that's really, thank you so much for both Sheree and Sarah for giving us your perspectives. I think because of time, probably we could go to some questions if that's okay.
The first one is, how do you make sure that only those with a real need take part? I think you've more or less answered that, but unless you want to add a bit.
I'd add a really quick thing. We have a membership form that people do need to give some information when they join as membership, which does ask some questions about are people struggling with bills, with food costs. So although we don't have, it's not strict criteria, we are trying to target the project of those that would need it more. And so I think one of the ways that we do that is with working with community partners, community groups, to make sure that we're really trying to kind of promote to those people that would need it. But we also have to have a bit of a prioritization sometimes with our waiting list. So we do try to kind of prioritize those when people are on a waiting list, to accept those people that are more in need, that so we will obviously kind of, if somebody's really in crisis, we'll kind of bump them up the list.
And can I just add, also, we find that I would say 100% of the time, the people that do join are in need in one way or another. That might be because they have food poverty issues, or possibly it could be mental health issues, it could be anything, but they are in need in one way or another. So we haven't come across anybody who we would say is genuinely not in need. I hope that helps answer that question.
Okay, great. The next question is one of mine. How did you get the premises?
Cardiff Council didn't want it as a youth project anymore. They ran out of money for their youth program. It was a youth centre before we took it over, and they offered it to us on a 99-year lease of
asset transfer
arrangement. So we were very fortunate, and we appreciate. We were really lucky to have the building.
Right, good. Jim, would you like to ask your question? If you're there. I thought I could unmute you, but I can't, unfortunately.
I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Sam. You talked about the waiting list a few times, and I just wondered, did you have any system for admitting people who've been on the waiting list for some time? I've put down such as time-limited membership, but I also, I guess, natural wastage or people who move on. Do you have a formal system for admitting?
Yeah, Caroline is probably the best person to answer. I mean, it's a little bit, we have to kind of adjust it as our capacity changes, and with COVID, that's been a challenge. But I mean, we don't have a kind of formal system where you've been on the list so many weeks, you'll kind of be moved forward. Although I know that Caroline will manage it to try to avoid people waiting too long. But as I said, we try to prioritize those people identifying who are kind of more struggling. Caroline, do you want to add more about how you manage the waiting list?
Yes, so basically we have a waiting list, and we usually if it's somebody that's come through another service, for instance, then that person's I'll just say social worker, for instance, will get in contact with me and just say, right, this person is in need, and can you make sure that she's bumped up the waiting list? And so that's what will happen. But in general, anyone that's on the waiting list doesn't wait more than a couple of weeks. Obviously, through COVID, we and also they're free to ring us and just explain, you know, I need this service, which is absolutely fine. That we won't ask too many questions, too invasive or anything. But a general rule, it isn't more than a couple of weeks. Obviously, through COVID, we had to close our waiting unless they came through another service. That was just the easiest way for us to manage it at the time, because as you can imagine, with the people we already had to on our membership, we just tried to make sure that it was as fair as possible for everyone.
Okay, thank you. And there's a question for you, Caroline. You're a paid person, aren't you? How much time do you put in every week?
So my days for pantry are a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and I'm literally there floating around in the background. The pantry volunteers are getting on with it and sorting everything out. My role is more in the background, doing all of like the admin side of things and making sure that deliveries are coming in and stuff like that. But yeah, I do 2 days a week.
And the pantry's open 2 days a week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now there are two
Sorry,
questions.
would I be able to
How long is the day?
say something on that point?
Sorry?
Go on.
Would I just be able to add to what Caroline just said? Is
Yes.
that okay? Yeah. Some of the volunteers, like myself, also have experience and background work in catering and with working with food, so that kind of helps Caroline not have to be so hands-on. So we have food hygiene skills. We know about stock rotation, waste, sell-by dates. So it kind of eases that pressure for Caroline not to have to be so hands-on and present 24/7. So I think if you do have members that do have certain skills like that, that can kind of contribute, that does help, and it does decrease that sort of need for her to be there and present 24/7, really. So sorry for interrupting. I just thought it was, you know.
You're right.
Yeah,
it's completely, I think there's no way I could run this by myself. And, you know, this is why it has to be volunteer led, because it's so important. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm just in the background. The girls do all of the work and all of the hard graft of, you know, lugging the 600 kilos of food from one room to another every week. But yeah, like I said, I just do the Tuesday and the Wednesday on pantry project at the moment.
Brilliant. We've got two questions, I think. One is, how do you sort out the amounts for the weekly 10 items? And another one, which is Phil's. Phil, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, my question is, if you've got a really large family, 10 items don't go very far. So what happens if the family says we could really do with more than 10 items?
So basically, nobody ever gets 10 items. They always walk out with more. So for instance, they are able to have 5 items from the shelving to the ambient side of things, but they will always have more. We always make sure that, for instance, for one item off the shelves, they get double. So basically, they always end up with much more than what 10 items is, because we always want to make sure that they have more than enough than, you know, less. If that makes sense.
An item might be a kind of a large bag, or even as much as you can take of if we've got a large amount of fruit and veg, for example.
Yes.
The only issue is I think sometimes, you know, the deliveries are not consistent. So some weeks we'll have less food available than others. So that's when it becomes a bit more of a challenge, because you do have to kind of make it sure it's fair across all of the members. But I think, yeah, we've kept it at 1 membership per household. Otherwise it becomes quite complicated, I think.
You do have an overstock as well sometimes of some items. So you could have, you know, quite a large amount of items that are stocked up, that are piled up. So as Caroline said, you can offer more than one of those particular items. You will also have certain things like, and that could be refrigeration stuff or ambient things, even though the stock can be inconsistent. If you are rotating that stock and you are storing it, you know, how it should be and things, you will start to get that kind of back stock of items. So in some weeks we can, you know, kind of give out 2 bags of pasta instead of when it's, you know, things like that. And also adding things like recipe ideas to bags for people who shop. And just kind of having a general chat about things. And as they're talking to you, kind of give them ideas. Oh, well, what, you know, you're doing a bit of bacon. How about a case of eggs today is one of your blue, and then you can have a flour, you know, this and that. It's kind of knowledge as well of things like that. So you can kind of help support them to do a shop that will provide for their family and for their family makeup of that household as well. So that does, you know, help if you have people that have experience with doing that or are good with home baking, cooking, etc., that can kind of look at what shelf items come in, what fresh items come in as they're being stocked on that day of delivery. So when it comes to time of pantry, you can kind of communicate with each other, relay that back, and you know, you can kind of go forward there as well. So it is really good. You know, we kind of had a lot of items as well that you can store for a long time. You can, you know, freeze. You could batch cook as well. So there's many opportunities for people to be able to kind of make their items go even further again by doing things like that. So I think that's really important.
So it sounds as if you don't do any kind of rationing, but you're really trying to distribute as much as you can. That's wonderful. Do you ever run out?
We run out quite quickly sometimes of our fridge items, but we always make sure that we've got a good stock of frozen items to offer them. So if there isn't anything available in the fridge, that we always make sure that there's stuff in the freezer for them to make up for them not having fridge. We always have ambient. We've always got enough ambient. So they always walk away with normally at least 2 bagfuls of food, 2 carrier bagfuls of food, if not more.
Fantastic. Alison, 1 person per membership. I think it's a family membership, isn't it? I think you said.
Yeah, per household. Yeah.
I was thinking that, you know, it what related to the question really about a large family, that if it's £5 for each membership, and there's, you know, there might be some large families compared with just a single person household, how does that work?
Generally, we never have, because we do obviously have single households and then families. We always make sure that the big families are walking away with enough food for it to last them a good couple of days. And also a single person, the people that we have coming through the doors, generally they will say, oh, I don't need that, or I don't want that. So we have that problem really, but we always make sure that they have enough. And I think that just comes down to the personal relationships that we have with our members, because we get to know them well. So yeah, I think that answers the question. Sorry.
Let's go back to Anna's question. Anna?
Oh, thank you. I was just curious, how can, since your inventory is made up from surplus, How consistent is what you get from week to week?
So we get every week is different, but we always have a meat option, dairy option. We have, you know, treats options as well. We always have, you know, a very wide variety of items. The ambient side of things is normally pretty much the same sort of options every week, but might be a different brand or something like that. But yeah, we've always got a it will never be the same item, but it'll always be similar.
I just jump in there. I mean, one of the things, I mean, consistency week on week can be a bit of a challenge when you're just relying on the Fair Share as our main charity partner that supplies the food. But what we've tried to do is diversify, so that we're not just relying on Fair Share, although that still makes up the majority of the food. We are also getting food from other places, I mean, I still noticed there was a question there about local gardeners. Absolutely, our local, we've got a local growing project where surplus food from that project comes into the pantry. We've got a cooking project where pre-cooked meals come into the pantry. So, in a way, the more diverse range of food that comes into the pantry, the better, because you can then keep offering the widest choice possible, even when Fair Share delivery might be, you know, inconsistent, being up and down.
And as for vegan options, yes, we've always got a really good range of vegan options. At the moment as well, we have gluten-free ready-to-cook scones in the freezer. So we always have something there available for people. Yes, people are able to come just once a week, just because to make it fair across the board for the rest of our members, because obviously at the moment especially we've only got a certain amount of slots available because of COVID.
And Jim is asking about recipes.
Yep. So Cherie has set up a Facebook page where we're able to share recipes. Also, part of my other role is it's all around cooking and nutrition and cooking skills. We're hoping before lockdown we were starting to develop cooking classes with people who were coming in the building, and now after we've just had a new kitchen installed, so we're thinking about developing a new cooking project, getting people in to teach them new skills, not just around cooking, about budgeting and things like that, things that people really need, sort of back to the old home economic style classes that used to be taught in schools, which I think should be brought back, but I won't get on my high horse about that. But anyway, yeah, so that's what we're hoping to achieve very soon. Hopefully COVID allows that.
Thank you. It sounds brilliant. If we were to try to get one off the ground in Swansea, how would we start?
It would be, the first port of call would be if you wanted to follow the Your Local Pantry model to do the social franchise. The Church Action on Poverty is the first port of call to kind of make an expression of interest with them, and they would then explain the process of getting signed up. We would be able to help from a point of view of being a local resource for project visits, to help train volunteers. You know, we're very much keen to support other pantries get set up, so we could offer some kind of, I suppose, some kind of practical help. But in terms of the kind of franchise arrangement, that would be done centrally through Church Action on Poverty. I can send to Sue the contact if that's helpful.
Very much so, yes. Any other questions from us?
Local gardeners contribute local surplus produce to the
Absolutely, they have done. Yeah.
Yeah, especially through the first lockdown last summer, we had quite a bit of produce from people's allotments and things being brought in as well.
I think that a lot of people in XR grow food, and there's always a glut of garden vegetables and things in the summer, isn't there?
Yeah, and my ethos is never to waste anything, so it will get used one way or another.
Yeah, brilliant.
But if there are groups or I mean, we'd be really keen to link up. So please do get in touch or ask others to get in touch with us if they are interested in the pantry model and hopefully post COVID. When the COVID restrictions ease a little bit, we can certainly offer visits to the pantry if you wanted to see firsthand what's going on.
Fantastic. Well, this timing is pretty good. We've nearly done the hour. So is there are there people here that would be keen to get involved in setting up? Yes, Sue, Anna, Judy, Maggie, Pat. Brilliant. And we know that there have been a number of other people who said they're interested who are not.
You do need a venue. That is a basic.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a space.
At the moment, Swansea's got so many empty shops. I think there's something like 70% of shops gone. So hopefully the council would be interested in giving us a shop. Do you think the local councils are open to supporting premises for things like a pantry?
Cardiff is put into its food strategy pantries as an approach it wants to support. I don't know about Swansea, I'm afraid, but certainly Cardiff is part of the food strategy that's been approved by Cabinet quite recently. And pantries were and there's now 3 pantries in Cardiff, and soon to be another couple opening. So I think it is a movement that's growing in our part of the world. So I don't see any reason why another local authority wouldn't be interested.
Would we have one of these? What did you call it? The fair food? I've forgotten the people who you get your food from.
Fair Share. Fair Share's national. Yes, you're absolutely. Your Fair Share will be available to you. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that's a national organisation.
Yeah, it's a Welsh Fair Share Cymru we deal with, but they've got the South Wales distribution network for surplus food.
It's extraordinary, really, if you think if you've got 3 with coming up to 5 pantries just in Cardiff, all this food that would otherwise go to waste.
Yeah, and it's quite shocking. I mean, Fair Share, I think, do the best job they can, but they're not diverting all of the food that's there available. I mean, they have their own kind of capacities, so there is more food out there that is going to waste. Yeah, it is quite shocking. But important that if we can try and do something positive with that food, rather than waste it. That's we're really keen to do what we can.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, does anybody want to say anything before we finish?
Well, it sounds a marvellous project. Well done you for getting it going and spreading it so much. And I hope we'll do something like that in Swansea soon.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, Sherry, and Sarah, and Caroline for giving you time.
Thank you, and good luck with it all. And yes, well, we'd be good to be kept in the loop with anything that's developing.
And if you need any advice or anything about setting up one, or when you are in the throes of getting ready to start, I'm on the end of an email or on the end of the phone for any advice if you need any.